what have I been reading in comic books? Well, on occasion, well, not occasion, quite a lot these days. Look at old comic books that I missed out on and stuff. And been looking back at pulp fiction characters who are predated or were heard of the precursors to superhero comics and that sort of thing. And of course, there was Doc Savage and the Shadow and all that. And I don't know, I was reading a couple of things about the Avenger, not to be confused with, Diana Riggs' Emma Pill and the TV show, and or Marvel Comics superhero team, now popularized thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, this was just one man, but he did have a group. But because of those other entities using the word Avenger or Avengers, rather, no one really ever does a title called the Avenger with this character anymore, but he did run an organization called Justice Inc. So, so that can always fit in as the title, and it works. Probably a little better than Shazam having to be used instead of Captain Marvel and all that. But anyway, this one, this character is probably not as well known as Doc Savage or the Shadow. The Shadow is probably the best known of those guys. But it's funny because there's similar. I mean, it says right here on the cover, it was created. The character was created by Kenneth Robeson, the Doc Savage. But he actually had a radio. Doc Savage also had a radio show, but there's no copies of it in existence anymore. NPR did a couple of stories in the 80s, and those are available. But whatever was done in the 30s, just gone. But the Avenger did get a series, but it became just a ripoff of the Shadow, where the Avenger also turns invisible on a radio show. But interestingly, but in the actual the magazine stories in the books, that's not what he does. Same thing with the Shadow himself in the magazine version. Even though the radio predates the the Shadow on the radio was originally a host character, and then eventually became an actual character in Adventures for the Shadow. But the magazine doesn't have him turning invisible and that sort of thing. So it's just, but then someone decided, hey, we'll use the Avenger and rip off the Shadow. So. But, it's the same thing, a guy seeking to right wrongs against evil. So this comic book had a short run, and it's because it came out in the late 70s, and this is the era that is referred to as the DC implosion, where DC decided to flood the market with comic books, and they just put out a whole bunch of different titles, got teams together to produce these comics, and, some of them were too bad, and it's just too bad but it was kind of a foolish thing to do because they overextended themselves and it all collapsed. But that's child's play compared to the crap they're into now. But anyway, so I picked this one. I think I'm going to look at some others that they did as we go forward, but picked this one and read it. And despite the art being pretty damn good, well, it's the first issue, but it's not that great, sad to say. But what are you going to do? The cover here is by Joe Kubert, a legendary artist. It starts off, gives you a little, this is his origin story they tell in this particular issue, which is appropriate. It's issue 1. And he's known as the Avenger, deadly leader of Justice Inc. In the roaring heart of the crucible, steel is made. In the raging flame of personal tragedy, men are sometimes forged into something more than human. More human than human. Thus it was with Dick Benson, a man transformed into a figure of ice and steel. Well, not literally, but you get the idea. More pitiless than either. This night, an Avenger is born. So, adapted from Kenneth Robeson's novel by Denny O'Neil writer, Al McWilliams artist. So there you go. See, but like I said, the art, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Denny O'Neil could be a really good writer, but I mean, maybe he was stuck with the original source material. I don't know. But anyway, so Dick Benson and his family get on this plane. There's something mysterious going on. And he has to go take a leak. He comes back and his wife and child are gone. He's like, hey, what the hell? And these thugs give him trouble, and he gets in a fight with them. Where's my family? And, well, you see what smack. Ooh. Oink, oink. And, hey, what's the deal? Well, they throw him out of the plane, and he wakes up in a hospital. Time passes, time fraught with pain, and Dick Benson drifts in an eternity of agony, neither knowing where he is, nor caring, until... Glad to see you've regained your consciousness, Mr. Benson. How long have I been under? A day? No, you've been our guest here at the hospital for 3 weeks. Your case is, most interesting. You've suffered a tremendous shock. And the consequences have been unusual, to say the least. Perhaps you'd better look in the mirror. Is that really me? You're the Joker now. I'm afraid it is. Your facial muscles are almost totally paralyzed. The color of your hair and skin is also affected. Now, what the hell? Is he dead? Is he a ghost? There's no real explanation as to why this has happened. The business of his face, your facial muscles are almost totally paralyzed. Well, then he probably wouldn't be able to speak. I don't even know if he could open his eyes. I mean, it's like, you mean he suffered a stroke? I mean, it's just, it's strange. I mean, it's like there had to have been some, like he was exposed or something, whatever those guys are up to. But no, it just, he just wakes up and, well, look at this. He said, frankly, your appearance is rather frightening, but don't fret. In a month or two, you may revert to normal. Seems unlikely. Holy crap, look at him. Never. At least, not while my family is missing. Wait, you're still sick. I mean, look at you. Doctor, I'm grateful to you, but if you value your life, stay out of my way. All right, up yours, asshole. So within the hour, a taxi has taken Benson to a luxurious apartment building, and in the penthouse, I thought I'd put away these things forever when I abandoned my globe-trotting, my career of danger and violence. So, as luck would have it, he used to be some sort of, maybe a secret agent or something. I don't know. So he goes through his weapons, and he's got his specially designed revolver that he can hide easily under a shirt. And then a dagger. Yeah, that's going to come in handy. You know, I mean, he's now granted he's driven to go, what the hell happened to his wife and daughter? He's got to go find them. And so you understand all that, but it's just like, he's just walking around and it's like, well, whatever. And the doctor's, hey, take it easy. Get out of my way. So that's the origin of his mentality. He's cold as steel or whatever. And, because of the, you know, he can't get his wife and child back and all that. So, but it's like this incredible thing has happened and we don't know why. You know, maybe we should look into this, but you know, well, whatever. And she said, well, I never thought I'd be attracted to an albino. So anyway, there you go. That's the deal. That's his specialty. So if you ever see this guy walking around, you'll know it's the Avenger. So he's investigating what happened with the plane. He finds the plane and some big dude is there and they get in a fight. And that's how they become good friends. The big lug becomes his partner in all of this. And this is somewhat similar to Doc Savage, where he has this group of guys with special skills and whatnot who join him on his adventures, and this guy is like the first introduction of that. So, you know, whatever. It's just like, hey, want to join me on taking on this criminal organization? Sure, why not? Because apparently he's a fugitive, but he was wrongly accused, and he just, all right, I'll take it. and so, okay, whatever. So they hatch a plan to infiltrate this organization. And as luck would have it, I don't know when he had time to discover this, but one of the things the Avenger can do, besides looking weird, is put on makeup and then move his skin around, because he says it's like silly putty now. And now he looks like Albert Einstein. I mean, it's like, once you smooth it out, though, it looks like he always did. Remarkable, you've aged 50 years. Instant disguise, eh? Right. I wasn't sure it would work, but it did, huh? Yeah. So, once again, the plane's loading up some people, and the Avenger is going to be on board. But they don't know it's the Avenger. Of course, they would have noticed his weird white appearance, so I guess that's why he had to disguise himself as an old dude. But they were actually after this old lady, and the deal was they were all shareholders in this company, and this old dude wanted them all eliminated so he would be the sole owner of it, and that was the plot. Benson and his wife and kid just got in the way, so they admit that they just got rid of them, so they're dead. So pretty harsh. Happened off panel. I mean, I suppose, I don't know. I mean, I'll read the further issues and see if it turns out they're not really dead. But that's kind of his motivation, because he's now as dead and cold inside as his exterior form, it seems to indicate. And because, he has no reason to live other than justice. So he starts strangling the old fart, but the big dude says, "No, come on, you're not a murderer." "Okay, Smitty." Yeah, his name is Smith, so he calls him Smitty. Cute, huh? So anyway, Smitty saves the Avenger from being a murderer. And so my work is done here. But I've been thinking, Smitty, there must be others like you and I, decent men. Well, are you? I mean, whose lives were destroyed by crime. We'll find them and enlist them in a crusade against all that's fouling the world. We'll be a force for justice. These two, caught in a common bond, a holy purpose. These two are the beginning. For this night, an Avenger is born. So, like I said, the art's good. I like that stuff. But it's just a little too slapped together and cheesy here and there, which is forgivable in a lot of scenarios, but it's just this happens to him with very little explanation, and he runs into this guy. Hey, let's go take on these criminals. Okay, sure, why not? And he seems like a little dialogue here and there. Maybe he hooked up with an old partner and they went in on this together and this sort of thing. But no, there's a lot of different devices that I think could have smoothed it out better, but this is what they went with for the first issue of Justice Inc. way back when, and didn't survive the DC implosion. Meanwhile, I found time to read current comic books and took a gander at this special issue of Action Comics, which is supposed to be a restart for Superman. A new era rises. Yeah, see, there he is. Up, and away. But don't waste your time. It's sad because I wish Superman would get some respect. But the issue in and of itself, it's just rather stupid and whatnot. It doesn't really matter. Yes, Jonathan Kent's there with his pink-haired boyfriend and all that. Still going on that, but the main thing there is that Bendis did this idiot thing, which they had done before in the past. Of everybody found out that Clark Kent is Superman, so the whole world knew it, and basically the Clark Kent identity was, for all intents and purposes, gone and all that. Then he went off to War World and had a whole adventure there while his son took his place, and of course that was just for him to come out of the closet every issue, and that's all that story was about. And so now he's back and everything, and they were going to have this dinner and get together, and then Perry White shows up and doesn't understand why Superboy's boyfriend is there. And they said, what do you mean? And he suddenly has a stroke. And they realize that there's something wrong about it all. And Superman gets summoned by Lex Luthor. And it's a plot by Lex Luthor, who decides, you know what, Superman, after all the shenanigans I've been through, I think we need to team up to save the world. And that's what I'm supposed to do. You know what? Okay, whatever. But he said, but nobody can know your secret identity, so I fixed it for you. So he used a character, Manchester Black, this long-winded thing, but he used him and his mental powers and augmented him, but it killed the man in the process, to fix it to where everybody on Earth, except for a select few, like Superman's family and whatnot, will not remember that Clark Kent and Superman are one and the same. And if they ever come close to the truth, they'll have a stroke like Perry White did and die. Perry White gets saved, so he's not dead, but he still doesn't remember that Clark is Superman. And that's the deal. The Justice League is safe because they have a special mental block put on them by Martian Manhunter. They have a scene where Batman explains this. And that's the deal. They do reveal that apparently Superman is now more powerful than he's ever been because of the events of Dark Crisis, I guess, and stuff like that, which I guess is a roundabout way of getting him back to where he was pre-crisis, when he used to be able to move planets and stuff. And that was part of the thing. It's like, good Lord, he's too powerful. But then what are you going to do with it beyond that, since none of them could figure out anyway, and they ran away scared from it? I don't think the current crop of writers can handle that now either. But it's just, good Lord, what a stupid thing. This happens quite a bit. Well, they'll, shocking, a milestone issue where Superman's identity is revealed, or Spider-Man, or whatever. And then there's some shenanigans that happens. The easiest thing would have been, of course, they just had their Dark Crisis event and just say, well, time warps and stuff. And the reveal never happened. So could have just done that. Instead, they do this ridiculous thing where everybody's got a ticking time bomb where they could be killed just by realizing that they're one and the same. He beats up Luthor and puts him in prison for the murder of Manchester Black and all that. But at the same time, it's like, you're just going to let this go, huh? Well, yeah, it restored the status quo. I mean, stupid. So stupid. A terrible way to restart your Superman series. So just still no respect for poor Superman. So the other title I checked back on was The Amazing Spider-Man, which, as you recall, I was interested in because of they brought back the Hobgoblin, and I've always been a sucker for the Goblin stories and all of that. But once that part of it was done, it was to introduce this new series about Dark Web, which is a Spider-Man teaming up with the X-Men series. So before you read this one, you're supposed to, I guess, read the X-Men, which I didn't. But Ben Reilly now turned evil, and he now calls himself Chasm. And this is his outfit. Yeah. And apparently unleashed demonic forces from another dimension. And they even kind of acknowledge that this is just a redo of an old crossover event they did way back when called Inferno. And that's about that's about it. And he has mystic powers now, and his girlfriend became a new character named Hallows Eve, which, yeah, surprised someone didn't use it already, but so she gets, magic powers or whatever. And the Goblin Queen, of course, that's the X-Men connection. And so they've teamed up to get revenge on the people who make them feel less than they should be, because they're both clones. See, that's their connection. So the next issue, Venom returns, but now he's back to being supposedly like he was when he was initially. I guess they want him to be back to being a villain for Spider-Man, which I always thought he should always have been, but they made him an anti-hero guy. They'll probably go back and forth with it, whatever. But he's being manipulated by the evil forces unleashed by Madeline Pryor and Ben Reilly. So, didn't really keep my interest that much. But I don't know, the Queen Goblin comes in again. Of course, that was the plot. She was up to it, so I guess it's just a matter of, gee, who is she? Is she Betty Brant in disguise, wanting revenge for what happened to Ned, yet she manipulated events that put Ned back in the hood? I don't know. So that's about it. I have no interest in the X-Men title, so it's kind of it didn't really capture my fancy, but I read it, Yeah. So anyway, that's it. It's mostly just an old comic from the 70s and a couple of comics from today that were not so great. I guess the Spider-Man titles were better than the Superman one, so yeah, there's something.